Morning, everybody. Welcome to my channel. It is 8:15. It is January 14th. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Yesterday was a little bit of a wild session. It was kind of a snail in the beginning, and then there was a liquidation break out of nowhere that was China saying they're not going to buy Nvidia chips unless in special circumstances. Then that gave the market a chance to rip higher. When the market was ripping higher, remember I always talk about my internals, my market internals, they were not strong. So I did not expect this market to rip roar and start just ripping. And it didn't. That's why I had a short. I had a nice short yesterday. Really, really, I wouldn't say picture perfect, but I can go over it in a little bit. I posted it in my Discord. But really a quintessential like sweep and market structure shift, and then like a bearish for value gap. It just had all the pieces for my framework and also with internals. And it was just the trade didn't last long at all. Pretty much went to VWAP was my target. I hit it. So those are the best trades. I mean, those were the best trades. So we'll go over it in a little bit. I don't have to go over it in depth, but I just thought it was a really good example of patience. Okay, really good example of patience. And today, we have a slew of stuff coming today. We have 8:30. We have PPI, so core PPI, headline PPI. Okay, I believe we have retail sales as well. And then today, we have SCOTUS, Supreme Court. We're going to talk about the tariff ruling. Now, I think on Kalshi or Polymarket, it's saying that they're going to deem them illegal, which is going to be really crazy for what the market does with that. Now, my feelings on that, remember, the markets already price stuff in. Okay? And I don't think they know what this ruling is going to be, but you just got to think about it. We already had a dip from the markets of the tariffs. I mean, and we went to all-time highs. So the only thing that I could think that obviously that will be a benefit to companies, okay, will be especially the value plays that outsource stuff from China and stuff like that. They will benefit. They will. Those companies don't really move markets though. So like I said, I don't know what's going to happen, but if Kalshi or Polymarket's saying that they're probably going to overturn and say that they're illegal, it will help. But we shrugged off the tariffs already. Like I said, very interesting of what the market's going to do. I think you could get a sugar rush from it, but like I said, I'm always going to follow price. So that's what's going on today. We did have some more bank earnings this morning. Bank of America, Wells Fargo. Okay, and I think we just get right into it. Okay, welcome to my channel. My name is Steven Gonzalez. I use market profile and volume profile to find structure in the markets, along with supply and demand, gamma exposed levels, the most traded price of the year, the month, the week, and the previous day. Helps me find structure in the markets. That's my edge. Okay. Now, my number one, I also use Anchor VWAPs. My number one bread and butter is my market internals. That thing is the most valuable thing I use. It always lets me know what the market's capable of. Just like yesterday, right? If I didn't have internals and how we ripped up, I would have thought, you know what? I'm not shorting this market. This just ripped up. Well, I was more comfortable because I knew it wasn't strong. Okay? It was not a strong market. And then we proceeded. After my trade, there was another something with news came out. I mean, I was out of my trade. And then the market went down and made new high, low of day. Okay? So Very interesting. We'll go over what happened yesterday because in the hourly chart, it was very bearish what happened. But then you had a sweep of liquidity and then it was bullish. So it was quite the day. Okay? Quite the day. Market's been very interesting. Okay? A lot of swings. All right? So, hopefully, you join me every morning. I feel I give you a lot of golden nuggets every morning. Give you the market story, market news, economic calendar, bunch of technical analysis, and I give you the long and short trade scenarios in Nasdaq and futures. Nasdaq and ES futures. Man, I'm getting some brain fog here. I'm not gonna lie, I am not getting good sleep. I'm trying to figure this out. It does not feel good when you do not get good sleep. Like I almost feel like I have a hangover right now, but I don't. I got like something like 5 hours and change, and I like to get at least 7, and my body knows it. Okay, so hopefully my brain doesn't keep getting some fog here. All right, now if you want to join me live, you're gonna go to my Discord, Confluence Trading. Go to my YouTube homepage, click on the link, and sign up. What are you waiting for? I'm dropping golden nuggets there, folks. Every day I give you the narration. I don't panic from price action. I just give you the real deal. Okay? And I don't know why I always say quants or whatever, welcome, welcome, welcome. Based on what I say, maybe they can code something, right? I don't know. Make a Confluence trading bot. I don't know. Okay? So, hopefully you join and sign up. All right? Now, let's get right into futures. Now, remember, we got PPI coming at 8:30, so this could change. PPI isn't more as important as yesterday's CPI, which was a little softer and then in line yesterday. All right, so let's go to it. All right, this silver is out of control. Silver is out of control. We're at $91, almost $92 an ounce in silver. Crazy. My first trim on my silver position from the ETF was at like $65. And I thought, ooh, we're at 65. Let me trim some. Jeez. Now the SLB ETF is about at $83, approaching $84. This is nuts, dude. Like I said, there's a lot of people getting short squeezed in silver. A lot of banks. All right, so this could skyrocket. VIX is up almost 6.5% to 17. So we're getting this VIX is starting to rise. Okay. Ethereum's up 3.22. Crude's getting love with this Iran, however you want to say it. Crude is up 1.08%. Gold is almost up 1%. Bitcoin is up 0.82. It's at 95K. 30-year bonds is kind of flat. Dollar's flat. 10-year yield is down 0.22. Dow is down 0.26. Russell's down 0.26. ES is down 0.35. Nasdaq's down almost 0.5%. So Nasdaq is gapping down right currently. And ES is at yesterday's lows right now. Okay? This is right before PPI, which, like I said, doesn't tend to move the markets as much unless there's some crazy thing. Okay? Let's look at the Mag 7 Plus here. Netflix is getting love this morning. I don't know why. Maybe we'll see it. I don't know why right now. I know Warner Brothers got a downgrade, but let's see here. They're up 1.86. Coinbase up 1.26. Now, let's go to the half percenters at least. Tesla's down almost a half percent. Amazon down 0.59. Nvidia down 0.59. Microsoft down 0.63. Meta's down 0.65. AMD almost down 1%. And Broadcom's down 1%. Okay. Moving on to top sectors. Here's the mining stock, NEM, up 1.28. Not a surprise there. Chevron up 0.41. Exxon up 0.40. Let's go to some little more laggards here. Home Depot down 0.35. GE Vernova down 0.48. Oracle down over 0.5%. And Qualcomm down 0.60%. Let's go to the granular list here. Granular Intel. Intel is up 2.79. Alibaba up 2.72. MicroStrategy is up 2.61. And Gold Junior Miners is up. Who is lagging today? Fortinet. I saw that China is discouraging people in their country from buying U.S. cybersecurity software. Okay, that's Fortinet down 2.66. Intuit down 1.70. Bank of America is down 1.45. They reported earnings. I believe they had a beat. So interesting. Okay, interesting. I saw Palo Alto, and I should really put them in this list. I don't know why I don't have them in this list. Let me actually add that. I'm surprised I don't have them in this list. Hold on a second here. Let me add them to this list because they are down with that as well. I'm surprised I didn't have them in this list. I have them in another list, that's why. But they should be in this list. Yeah, there you go. Pan W right there down. It was down more earlier. So we can move on now. Remember, news is coming out in less than 5 minutes. Let's go to sectors. No surprise here. Energy is getting love, up 0.55. Remember, energy's been very cheap. Now, here's the thing. If crude starts catching a bid like it is, starts to going up to 65, 70, $80 a barrel, that CPI is going to get affected. Not the core, obviously, but the CPI will be affected. All right. Now, lagging here, semiconductors, XLK, technology sector, and your XLY. Okay, semis, obviously, you know what those are. That's Apple, and then XLK is your Apple, Microsoft, Nvidia, and then your XLY is discretionary. That's your Amazon, your Tesla, your Home Depot. Okay. Now, moving on. We're going to go right into this economic calendar for today. We got a lot going on here. Okay, 30-year mortgage rates went down. Okay, they went down. And 10-year yield is down today, so that's good for that. PPI, what are we looking at today? Let's open up the 1-stars because sometimes they don't put the headline up here. Okay, so PPI, let's see what we're looking at. So core PPI, oh, we're getting both numbers supposedly here from the month of October and November. So I think let's look at the November. We're expecting 2.7, previously 2.6, I believe. So we're looking for a rise. That's in core. In the headline number, 2.7. Oh, okay. Expecting 2.7. We're in retail sales. Then we have existing home sales at 10 a.m. Doesn't really move markets usually. Fed Mirren speaking at 10 a.m. Then we have SCOTUS. Remember, Supreme Court Justice on the tariffs. They were supposed to do it last week, but they decided to rule on something else. Then you have a bunch of Fed speak today. It's going to be action-packed today. If you don't have a squawk box in your ear, I would say to get some type of thing that you can hear the news because it is going to be an action-packed day. Now, if you want to see more, let's see here. I'm looking here. Bank of America earnings call, Fed Paulson. There's the Supreme Court opinion on tariffs. Tentative, it says 10 a.m. Existing home sales. Let's see. Blah, blah, blah. I don't see any Trump stuff so far. Okay. That's about it there. Okay, let's look at earnings calendar real quick. Earnings calendar. Remember, this is the beginning of the banks. So today, Wells Fargo, Citibank, Bank of America all reported earnings. After the close is nothing really to write home about. Tomorrow, before the open, TSMC. That's pretty good for semis. Okay, Goldman Sachs, BlackRock. All right. So that is that. Let's go to some stock news here. PPI is dropping in a minute. All right, Bank of America stock rose 0.9. Well, it's down now, but after the second largest U.S. bank posted quarterly earnings per share above expectations, Wells Fargo stock fell 1.7 after the lender reported fourth quarter 2025 adjusted earnings that beat expectations but missed revenue forecasts. Palo Alto, this is the important one. Stock fell 2.3 and Fortinet dropped 3.6. The Reuters reported that Chinese authorities have told domestic companies to stop using U.S. and Israeli cybersecurity. Okay. Alibaba, extending a recent rally, gained 3.1 amid investor excitement over its AI offerings. There. And Trip.com ADR slumped over 30% after Chinese regulators said the online travel agency is being investigated over alleged antitrust conduct. Okay. Let's watch this PPI. We'll go into this news in a second. Let's just watch the PPI news roll in together. There we go. And those retail sales, let's see. And we're going to drop. Boom. PPI. Well, they're rolling in. The numbers are rolling in. Let's see. Right now, I'm seeing a little bit of a wick, but not much. Like I said, I don't expect much here. Let me just refresh here. I'm going to go to the 1 star here. Let's see if any of these PPIs came out yet. I mean, obviously it came out, but this is updating. From what I'm seeing, so let's look at retail sales. Retail sales, uh, they were supposed to be plus zero point 0.4. They were plus 0.6. Okay. Let's get these PPIs. Come on. Let's go. They're still rolling in these numbers here. Like I said, this I have an hourly candle up. It's pretty much a doji here. I'm gonna open this up here, just while we're waiting for these numbers to roll in, just so I can talk about it. Oh, they're out. Okay. We're just getting a. This candle was up here, so we're getting a little bit of. Like I said, I don't think it's much to do about anything. All right, let's look at year over year headline. So we got year over year. So look at this. This is not. This is October was 2.8. Actual for a November consensus was 2.7. That is not a great thing. So producer price index went up 0.3 year over year. The headline core. Wow. This is why the market is not get too bullish over this. Okay. So for November, expected 2.7, we got 3.0. It went up. October was up to 3.4. So I guess it went down from October, but still higher than expected. So producers are paying more. Generally, that trickles down to the consumer. Okay. So basically, that's it. And right now we have a doji. A doji in the hour. Like I said, I don't think PPI, even though it's hotter than expected, I don't think this is like anything to be like whoa about. We'll let that cook a little bit. I don't think this is going to be much of a consequence to the markets. Let's look at more news here. All right, so we talked about Bank of America. Let's see. Sachs Global files for bankruptcy after Neiman Marcus takeover leads to financial collapse. This is what I was talking about yesterday. Exclusive China's custom agents told NVIDIA H200 chips are not permitted. Chinese customs authorities told custom agents this week that NVIDIA H200 artificial chips, intelligence chips, are not permitted to enter China. Whoa, 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 whoa. Supreme Court set to issue rulings. With Trump tariffs case still pending, the U.S. Supreme Court is expected to issue one or more rulings on Wednesday in cases already argued before the justices as major legal disputes remain pending, including litigation testing the legality of President Donald Trump's global tariffs. Okay, so let's just talk about the roundup here. U.S. stock index futures dipped, with investors assessing quarterly results from major banks. While retail sales and producer price data due later in the day, we already got them, were expected to provide fresh insight into the health of the economy. European shares climbed to a record high. Interesting. Rebounding after a modest dip the day before, as gains in utility and healthcare sectors offset weakness in media and defense stocks. In Asia, Japanese stocks closed at a record level. Wow. So far, Europe and Japan having great days. Okay, closed at a record level. Expectations of a potential snap election that could have paved the way for expanded fiscal stimulus. Chinese stocks ended lower, though, after regulators' unexpected tightened margin requirements to cool a red-hot market, even as turnover hit a record high. All right. Now, we'll talk about a little currency. In currency markets, the yen fell to its weakest level in a year. Okay, year and a half against the dollar. All right, while the greenback held steady near a one-month high against a basket of major currencies. Commodities extended their rally, with oil prices rising for the fifth straight session on fears of Iranian supply disruptions and amid deadly civil unrest and escalating U.S.-Iran tensions. Gold surged to a record high. while silver broke above 90 for the first time, as geopolitical risks fueled safe haven demand and softer inflation readings reinforced expectations of rate cuts. All right, so let's look at some more news here. Alphabet, Meta, and Microsoft hedge funds held on to heavily crowded long bets in large cap tech stocks late last year, such as Google parent Alphabet, Microsoft, and Meta, while short bets persisted in the likes of IBM and Strategy. Interesting. Says Amazon, the tech giant said on Tuesday it held discussions with some vendors about adjusting costs to reflect the reduction in tariff rates for Chinese imports. Interesting. All right, so this affects Broadcom as well. I didn't know that. Broadcom, Checkpoint Software Technologies, Fortinet, and Palo Alto. This is what we talked about earlier. I didn't know Broadcom was expected in this. Chinese authorities have told domestic companies to stop using cybersecurity software made by roughly a dozen firms from the U.S. and Israel due to national security concerns. Two people briefed on the matter said as trade and diplomatic tensions flare between China and the U.S. and both sides vie for tech supremacy, Beijing has been keen to replace Western-made technology with domestic alternatives. The U.S. companies whose cybersecurity software has been banned include, here we go, that's why Broadcom is down. Broadcom own they own VMware. I didn't know that. I honestly did not know they own VMware. Now that I know that. Palo Alto and Fortinet. Okay. What else here? All right, maybe we see why Netflix is soaring a little bit. Netflix, Paramount, Skydance Corp, and Warner Bros. Discovery. Netflix is preparing to make an all-cash offer Warner Brothers Discovery Studios for Warner Brothers Discovery Studios and streaming businesses. A source familiar with the matter told Reuters on Tuesday. The changes are designed to expedite a sale, which will take months to close and it face opposition from politicians and rival bidder Paramount Skydance, according to the source. Upon close on Tuesday, shares of Netflix are up 1.02% and Warner Brothers closed 1.62 higher. Paramount shares remained flat. Netflix's $82.7 billion deal initially consisted of cash and stock for Warner Brothers film and streaming assets, while Paramount offered $108.4 billion in cash for the whole company, including its cable TV business. Still, Warner Brothers has favored Netflix's deal despite amendments to Paramount's bid, including a $40 billion equity backing by Oracle co-founder Larry Ellison. Wow. Okay. Now, there's a lot of news to go over this morning. Usually, I'm out of here already. But NVIDIA. The Trump administration on Tuesday gave a formal green light to China bound sales of NVIDIA's second most powerful AI chips, putting in place a rule that will likely kickstart shipments of H200 despite deep concerns among China hawks in Washington. Okay, let's move on. Tesla. The company's CEO, Elon Musk, said the electric vehicle maker's full self-driving software will only be available as a monthly subscription after February 14th. Currently, Tesla allows its electric vehicle owners to purchase FSD, supervised for a one-time payment of $8,000 or a subscription of $99 per month. In the U.S., FSD is an assistance system that requires drivers to pay attention and to intervene if needed. Interesting. Okay. That was a lot of news. All right, let's move on. Let's move on. And that candle and the hourly chart really hasn't done much, which I expected. So that can give us some room to analyze it, right? So let's move. Oh, upgrades, downgrades. We don't need to go over that today. All right. Let's move on. Let's move on. Let's see here. Okay. So first thing I want to go into is the internals, because I love them. All right, I love them. Let's recap real quickly. Okay. Now, the day started out, never had any strength. Okay. And so we drew down. Now, when this was going lower, okay, I could show you here. Let me just pull up my Discord. I'm going to show you my Discord and show you when I post this. The first time I posted the internals. I usually do it around 9. Yeah, right here. So what I want to show you at this snapshot in time. Okay. Tech. The only sector that was weak up here was financials at this point in time. Tech was not very weak. Internals were trending lower, but they just were not that weak. They weren't super weak. Okay. So that's the snapshot off the beginning. So off the beginning, I'm like, all right, we're not that weak yet, right? So my point is, I want to show you where we end it. Okay. So where do we end up? Weak. Not weak, not super weak. Okay. That's not that big, but we just degraded and stayed weak the whole session. Okay. Now, market cap was weaker than equal weight. You can see the white line represents equal weight. Equal weight just was not very weak. Now, equal weight just represents the whole market if there was no market cap. That just gives me a better point of view because there's a divergence there. You know, whenever you really want to go hard on a short or a long, I like to see them working together. Then if they don't work together, you have to pick your spots. Okay, so this right here, this move here, was basically a liquidity sweep on a 1 hour chart. And then once that swept and it couldn't close above, I was like, oh, we're going to go back up. And then this right here was that China news about not buying NVIDIA chips. That was a liquidation break. Came out of nowhere. And what this does is when you have a liquidation break like that and you rip back up, what you did is remove sellers from the market. It strengthens the market. So it temporarily strengthened the market. Okay. And this, I believe, yeah, is where I shorted. Right up in here. We came up to the previous day's close, to the open, and I believe I shorted. This is obviously SPX, but I believe my entry was somewhere in here. I got the return to VWAP, like this move, I believe. All right. So, you know, and then what happened? There was another something happened to rip the market back up, and that was it. That was kind of a bull trap there, and then the market started to just fall. And because this market wasn't the weakest ever, and equal weight really rose, okay, it gave the market a chance to recover into the close. Okay, but whenever the market is holding, let's say under minus 200 and just holding, this rally was going to be not the best rally. It was basically a bear rally. Okay, so that's your market and tonals recap. Now, if we want to go to daily charts, okay, let's do it. Good old dailies. All right, good old dailies. Let's look at those dailies. All right. Now, as far as the daily chart, what did we do? Okay, zoom in here. We came down to this uptrend, came down to last month's highs, and got bought. Okay? That's what we did. And this black line here is Friday's close. Last Friday's close. Okay? Last Friday's close. Right there. So, so what did we do? We closed basically where Friday closed last week. So, interesting. Now, where are we now? 691.09. 691.09. We are gapping down here, right at the 9 EMA daily. Right there. Right below this trend. Okay? Here's our futures. Here's our futures. So, interesting here. Now, what we did yesterday was kind of bearish, right? So we swept the previous day's highs right here. Could not displace higher, right? And we closed lower. This could become a daily a swing high here. Now look, we're already below the 24-hour session low in futures. Breaking through the 9 EMA daily. You do have some support here, 69.54. The expectation, I would say, is you're probably going to hit this 69.51 today. Okay? We'll have to see. Okay? That would be the expectation for myself right now. I have to think, okay, longs had a nice profit take here. Now, but again, we have a lot of stuff coming out down the pipe at 10 a.m. So, but I would expect that we probably hit this today. Don't know how it gets there. And there's a quote that I love from Brian Shannon. He said, "The market always does what you think it's going to do, but does it in the least obvious way." That's beautiful. That is beautiful. It is so on. Qs. The Qs. All right, now look at this Qs. Still not at near all-time highs. What do? Close by Friday's close. All right, so basically from last week, we're unchanged. All right, we broke last week's highs. We hit last month's highs. That was resistance. Okay, we came back to this wedge here in the 9 EMA daily pretty much. All right, where are we now? 622.50, 622.50. We are all the way down here. We're gapping down by, what is that, Monday's lows. Okay, let's look at futures now. Futures. Okay, so same thing. Swept previous session high. Went to last week's highs. Could not hold it. Right? Now look. The market's here. Taking out yesterday's lows in the 24-hour session. Expectation would be lower. Down to at least 25638. Down to the 20-day simple moving average, the 50-day moving average. Okay? That would be my expectation. Right here. You almost have equal lows here. So I would pay attention to that. I would expect, again, how it does it, I don't know. And it might do it, like I said, in the least obvious way possible. I believe we're headed towards here at least. Right now, that's the way it looks. Sweep the highs, take out the lows, prices at the lows of the session near it, and we're gapping down. Now, we'll get into the hourly charts in a second. Okay? That's what's going on as far as that. Now, if we look at breadth, see how stanky that breadth is. We degraded a little bit in breadth yesterday. Okay, we are at 66% of stocks in the S&P 500 over their 50 days simple moving average. Still not bad. We're not back in the 50% like we were earlier, but it degraded a little bit yesterday. Okay, so that's your breadth. Now XLK, remember we got to track XLK. It's about 35% of the market cap weight in the technology in the S&P 500. So let's just look at it. Remember, it's been coiling and coiling and coiling, and it really hasn't done much. Yeah, look at that. Look at that friggin' garbage. Look at that channel. You're just moving sideways. Now, where is it now? 145.50. We're right here. All right. So if we break 143s, 144s, that is, market's going to go down. And if we break up to 147, 148s, the market's going to go up in XLK. Okay. So that's what we're looking at. All right. That's what we're looking at. Now, let's move to the hourly charts. This is where we get cooking here. Right? This is where we get cooking. Looks like we're putting in a swing high here to go lower, like I said. All right. Let me get my marker. So, real quick, I'm going to show you why we did what we did yesterday. All right. I don't have the levels here, but I can still show you. Let me zoom in. All right. We don't need to be this zoomed out. Notice my little addition here. I got a 4-hour candle now, and I got a daily candle always on this 1-hour chart, so I can constantly see this is the daily candle for today. This is the 24-hour session. We opened here, went up, and now our price is here. It's a good barometer to see to go, oh, this is not very bullish of a daily candle, right? Now, that's one thing I added to my charts. Now, what did we do yesterday? That was bearish. Okay, so with the CPI, the market ripped up in the overnight, made a high, but then couldn't displace above that swing high. Notice it couldn't displace there and close below it. right? Had one more attempt, couldn't do it again. You closed here. That's a liquidity sweep or raid, whatever you want to call it. That is bearish. Okay, now flip the script. And this is how crazy this market is. This is a swing low. That is sell side liquidity. I want to show you what the hourly chart did, which is pretty crazy. Now, the market's moving down, right? And I'm watching it in my community. And I'm going, okay, let's see where we close. We closed above that sell side liquidity. That is considered a sweep. Okay? Now, look what happened again. The market, I don't remember if this happened first and then we went up. I think it did. Okay? And look, we tried to go down again and closed above that swing low. That was a sweep. And that could have happened with that liquidation break, okay? Look what we did. We pushed all the way back up. But where? Right? Not near these highs. Not near those highs, okay? This is last week's highs. Now, Nasdaq's different, okay? I'll get into that in a second. Here's the important part. Because this gets tricky, okay? Now, I'm waiting. And I'm like, okay, we just did this, but I knew internals were not strong. So this is where I got short. Right when this made this a swing high. And then we dropped. Right? So overall, this is bearish. This structure is bearish. Okay? And what did it do? In the market, this is all I'm saying. The market's all about liquidity. What did we do here? Had all these lows. Look what we did. We swept it. That's what we did, and guess what we did? We swept that liquidity and closed back inside the range, making this market just be in a blah, right? However, what are we doing in this market now? Let's get out our little tool here. So let's just go here. We'll start and do a little trend. What are we doing? We went from this swing high to this swing low. From this swing high to this swing low, to this swing high, to this swing low. We made another swing high, another swing low, another swing high, another swing low, another swing high, to this current swing low, right? And if we peel that away, right, and look at this, that is pretty ugly. But notice the market structure shift. Okay, so look, higher high, higher low, higher. That's not a higher high, but that's a higher low. And then look, you put this in, and there's the shift. See how you take out this swing low and this swing low with this? That's the shift in the market structure. Then you put a lower high in, right? Right? And then you put a lower low, and then another lower high. Now you don't have a lower low here, but you do have another swing high. And now look. Okay? Ugly, but that's the way you got to look at it. All right? Very ugly, but you can't deny it. All right? You can't deny it. Now, that brings us to where we're at now. Okay? That brings us to where we're at now. This green box is the most traded price of this year so far. Not as impactful right now because it's just the beginning of the year. I have it on my chart. I just know it's the most traded price of this year. Okay? What did we just do? In the ES, we came into this major demand zone. Major demand zone. And there's two of them that overlap. I know these are strong demand zones based on the border of my demand zones. I know they're at least a 6-hour demand. What else did we do? We swept this little liquidity right there. That right there. Hit the month-to-date anchored VWAP. Below us is the most traded price of the month. Now, this is not going to be easy to get through, especially with especially with 10 a.m. SCOTUS. Okay, so what did I said before? The quote I said was Brian Shannon said, the market always does the most obvious thing, but does it in the least obvious way. Okay, so like I said earlier, what would I expect? I would expect to take out these lows right here. At least touch them, 69.50. How it does it, I have no clue. Because I said this is not going to be easy to cut through. So it could do something like this. Boom, 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 boom. Come up here. As long as you don't make and break the structure here, that swing high, come into this supply, you could fail. And boom, you take it out. Maybe you go here and maybe the market rips back up. I don't know how it happens. Okay, but what are we doing right now? We are accumulating. Remember, Power 3, AMD, accumulation, manipulation, distribution. We are now have swing high, swing high, swing high, swing low. We are downtrending, but into a big demand zone and a big price of the most traded price of the month. It makes it not the easiest. This is not just, you have a lot of structure to get through to go to the downside. Okay? That's just the real deal. Now, this daily candle is a bearish candle. This 4-hour, the 4-hour candle right here is a doji. That's the accumulation. It comes in handy, right? 4-hour doji, daily looks pretty bearish. Okay? I like having this on my chart. I wasn't sure if I was going to like it, but I like it. Now, NASDAQ. Let's talk about it. NASDAQ is different, right? We have overhead supply. I said a short in the NASDAQ yesterday was easier because there is overhead supply. So, let's look at the NASDAQ. Okay? Yesterday, same deal. That's a swing low. 2 hourly closes above it. That was a liquidity sweep. That gave it the fuel to push up. To push up. It hit the previous day's highs. It swept that liquidity. They were pretty much equal highs here. Could not go back to the overnight highs. Also, I was watching that and I said, okay, this is a swing high now. Now I can probably get my short off. And that helped me get my short off, right? So, again, this is bearish. That's a liquidity raid into a major supply zone. So, again, the market moves and you will think like, oh, this is pretty bearish, right? And then what did it do? It just needed to take its time, right? You finally closed under the swing low. You gave a little move up and now look, boom, push down. Where though? Where did it push down into? A major demand zone. Month to date, anchored VWAP. And it already swept some liquidity here, right there. And we're just accumulating. Okay? Daily candle is bearish. 4-hour is like a doji because we're accumulating. I didn't mention this, but we do have a 1-hour bearish fair value gap, this purple box. That is causing problems right now for this NASDAQ. Now, same deal. Big demand zone. Big demand zone. Okay? 257. Lot of traffic to get through. That is not easy. It's not going to be easy to just cut through it. It already had problems here. Remember, we have a lot of pending news. This market could easily go back up here. And as long as you don't break this swing high, a short is still on the table. And we could go down all the way to 25650. And you can see these rays, they're all liquidity levels. Okay? Now look at this right here. This was a swing low. Look at that ray. It could not displace lower right now, so that was a liquidity sweep. And let's see what happens. I don't know. Okay, so that's your markets right now. Hopefully, you guys appreciate that analysis. Okay? And hopefully that makes sense. always leave me something in the comments or something to be like, yo, I don't understand what you're saying, or please do that. All right. Now we're going to go to the market profile, volume profile. I am getting long-winded today, but I think it's golden nuggets, really. But it could be too much for some people. I don't know. All right. Market profile, volume profile now. Market profile, volume profile. Let's look at it together. Let's look at it now. The first thing comes to my mind here is the composite weekly profile. Is a beautiful balance. Look at that sucker. If I wanted to get a tattoo of volume profile, I'd be like, yo, I want a balanced profile tattoo, because that's perfect. Okay? That is a perfect balanced profile. That means the market is indecisive and agreeing at this price. Okay? Also, why I think we're in this balance, because there's so much news that could come out. Okay? Remember, balance is a warm, snuggly bed for the market. It's when everybody's agreeing on price. Okay? So, let's get into analysis. Now, you just got my 1 hour analysis. Now, this will be a market profile, volume profile analysis. Okay? Levels. Pretty easy, because I just said this before. Major demand zone here. And the most traded price of the month, which happens to be 69.60 right here. If you cannot break that today and hold below it, you're probably going to move higher. Okay? Now remember, right here, I didn't notice there is equal highs up here, right here. Okay? That is a liquidity level. Okay? So you don't want to break that if you're bearish. Now, you could sweep it, but, all right, so we'll get into the swing high that I was talking about earlier. You do have a 1 hour bearish for value gap here, that purple box, and you have a couple supply zones here. Most traded price of this year. Okay? So, this area becomes really crucial. Okay? Supply. Now, remember, there's major demand zones down here, so I'm even going to put this one down here as well. It's not going to be easy to get through. I'm telling you right now, it's not. Okay? You need probably some buyers to step in to take them out, to possibly see if you can go lower. I don't know if you can. Now, I'm just going to break this out. Okay? Let's break out this profile. Let's go back to that swing high I don't want to see violated. There it is. Okay? Now, that's a poor high. Generally, market likes to 10 back go that and correct that. Okay? Now, this is the swing high I was talking about. So we're going to mark off that supply. And it lines up with our most traded price of this year. So this swing high at around 60 to 69.92. Okay? That's what you don't want violated. It could sweep it. You just don't want that violated. Okay? So, I have a little bit of a bearish bias this morning. I have a little bit of a bearish bias. So let's get into scenarios and get this going. All right. Now I'm going to give you, starting off with a bearish bias. Okay. So I know we swept the low right here. I know we did. Into big demand zone. And we're holding the most traded price of the month. Okay. So I would not be shocked if we move up. Okay, initially. So, there's a bearish for value gap right here. So I'm going to watch in this area. And I really I want to see this swing high secure. So, if we get any kind of movement up, right, and come into supply, and let's say, you get a lower high, this could be a nice short. You would target overnight lows, 69.63. Now remember, you're going to run into a big demand zone and the 69.60 most traded price of the month. Remember, this is tough sledding. But you can get a temporary move, I think, down to here, 69.50s. Maybe even down here. Maybe then you bounce up. Okay? I think your best bet is the short here and target overnight lows and the most traded price of the month. I think here you can have a runner on, but like I said, this is going to be tough to get through. Okay? Honestly, that's probably my favorite trade right there. Now, if we did come up and try to tag this swing high here, and we just put a nice wick in and failed, that could also be the short. Okay? Now, the long side. All right? The long side. For me to be long, okay, I don't want to be up in here. No, 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 no. Okay? I want this market to do something like this. Take out those overnight lows. Maybe sweep this little swing low, 69.50. Like that. Go down, touch, recover, right? And then possibly get the reversion to the mean back up. Okay? That's if this market's not super weak. Honestly, I don't have a lot of long scenarios right now that I'm a fan of. I don't. I really don't. I don't want to be long up in here. Nope, 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 nope. Ask him trouble. Okay? So that's your ES. NASDAQ. NASDAQ, we are gapping down right now. We are gapping down, and you got some equal highs up here. Okay? You don't have the beautiful balance profile that you did in the ES. We are in a major demand zone. Okay? So here's our major demand zone, which overlaps. Oh, let me get rid of that color. So major demand zone. We're already bouncing out of it. Already bounced right off to the tick, the most traded price of the month, your 257. We already bounced off it. Okay? We swept liquidity right there. And like I said, we're gapping down. All right? So this is different. You have a gap fill here. That's yesterday's lows, 25803. You mark that off. You mark that off. Okay? And you have that 1 hour bearish for value gap in that purple box. Okay, this also has an incomplete profile to the upside. This becomes a swing high, but it's kind of equal highs almost here. You don't, now, one thing too, we are below the most traded price of the rolling year, this orange box. This orange box is right here to here, this orange box. Okay, goes across the whole screen, but remember I said, if we find acceptance below that, that's pretty bearish. So, okay. So, remember, major demand zone. But below this, see how there's a pocket of volume? You could really fall. Maybe go down to last week's lows. Okay. NASDAQ is relatively weak this morning. NASDAQ is relatively weak this morning. Okay. Let's break it out. The session. Boom. Okay, look, a new swing high was just made. Okay. Like I said, expectation would be to come down here. Expectation would be to come down here. I don't know if it's going to be easy or not. It could happen early. Okay. Let's talk about it. Let's go into the scenarios and get these guys out of here. That's my foggy brain from sleep, lack of sleep. So let's get into the shorts because that's what I'm biased on. Made a nice swing high here in that bearish for value gap, the 1 hour. Okay, into major demand, into the market, month-to-date anchor VWAP. I don't honestly don't want to do business right there. Major demand, month-to-date anchor VWAP, most traded price of the month down below. No thanks. No thanks. I know what happens there. You get your face ripped off. Okay? And I don't want to think I'm smarter than the market. All right? So, what am I looking at? Okay? Well, I would like this. Let's take out these overnight lows. Let's get some support. And let's see if we can come up to this bearish for value gap. Okay. If we fail somewhere here, make a new swing low, lower high, that's probably your short. Okay. And you can start to rip through 257s. Yeah. And this 25632 support, you're probably going to roll lower. Okay. You do have a bullish fair value gap right there. So 255s, 50s. And if this gets real crazy, you can move down to last week's lows. 25406. I don't know if this happens. Remember what I said. This will not be easy to get through. Now, we could get a little deeper buy in here. Okay? Up in here. If we don't take out that swing high, we could do it again, and then that could be the rollover. Take profits there, hold the runner for the rest. Longs. I'm not a fan of longs. Just not. Okay? They're always there for a scalp or something. They're always there. All right? So, longs. What would I wait for? Well, let's get some sellers pushing through the overnight lows, and maybe we sweep the 25613s and we come back and we hold. Print an hourly close up. That could be a little relief. Honestly, I'm not really interested in much other than that unless I see something when the market opens. Okay, that is the analysis for today. Okay, that is the analysis. Now, real quickly, I'm going to go over my trade yesterday. That was pretty picture perfect of a setup. Okay, so I'm just going to just show you it here. So here's on a 1 minute chart. That's my trigger chart. Okay, so beautiful setup. All right. And I don't know why this VWAP is showing at 7,005. The VWAP on all my charts were at here, where I hit my target. So I gotta fix that to see why that 1 minute VWAP was not correct. There's something about that that's not correct. All right. Now, what did the market do? Remember what I said. That's the liquidation break. There's not much entry from a liquidity. It's hard to enter because you're like, all right. I said in my community, I said this swept this liquidity, and I said this should now go higher, and it did. Okay, it did. Now this is a 15-minute bearish for value gap right here, and actually in a 15-minute, it never mitigated it. It never ever mitigated it. And look what it came up to as well. This little wick. I didn't label it here, but this is a 5-minute bearish for value gap. Okay, so it pushed into that, and then what I was doing was stalking and waiting. What I was doing was stalking, and what did I want to see? Okay, this is why I said it was pretty nice of a trade. I saw NASDAQ fail to hit those highs. I saw them make a swing high right here. This is ES, obviously, right? And what did I want to see? Well, I wanted to see this swing low broke, right? I wanted to see that. And what was it making? Swing high, right? Break of structure. You broke the swing low. So when I saw that displace and break it, this is a bullish fair value gap right here. I'm looking at it right here. That caused a little bit of the buying. And I said, if this cracks back up here, and you have a little bit of an order block right here in a 1 minute. So all these stuff work together, right? You have the bearish fair value gap, that's right here. Okay? And it's the 15-minute that never got violated. So when I saw this, I said, okay, we have a change of structure, right? And I said, I wanted to get long at the 12s right here. But I was like, all right, once it went here, I was like, I got to go short. I put my stop here, and I target VWAP, and this equal low right here. Boom. It literally happened. Look, you can see it. This is a 1 minute chart. Happened in like 3 minutes. Okay. Boom. I was out. Pretty nice trade. Pretty straightforward. Okay. Now, just to show you, I don't remember how long it was. Right there, I just showed you. Let's see. Ooh, let's see here. That trade was 3 minutes and 31 seconds. I made 375. You can see it almost. What was that? Entry of 7. I don't know what that is. 7 points, right? 7 and change points. Almost 8 points, right? I think I had like a 4.5 point risk or something like that. Okay, so pretty good trade. All right, just wanted to share that with you guys. Now, if you enjoyed that analysis, please smash the like button. That would mean a lot to me. Okay, and as always, hopefully you can join me every morning. All right, subscribe, set that alert, give you the market story, the market news, the economic calendar. All right, bunch of technical analysis. I just gave you the long and short trade scenarios in ES and the Nasdaq futures. Just gave you a trade recap that I had yesterday. All right, now if you want more in-depth coverage, you're going to join my Discord. That's Confluence Trading. Go to my YouTube homepage, click on the link, sign up. What are you waiting for? Let me be your indicator. All right, how I broke that trade down, I'm talking about it. I'm talking about it. I was in there with a member of my community saying to him, listen, I'm all about a long, but then that liquidation break happened. So I was like, I'm waiting. And I said, but I'm open to a short. And that's where it presented itself. So that was my one trade. Okay? One trade, one and done. Okay? All right, everybody. Have a great day. Have a great day. Remember, no trade's a trade. Hope everybody stays green today. All right? Have a great day. Hopefully I see you in my Discord. If I don't, I'll see you tomorrow morning. Take